Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the weekly BAT. Today, I'll discuss some of my price prediction for the basic attention token and why I believe BAT is one of the most undervalued, if not the most undervalued token in the crypto world. So, before starting the analysis, I'll make a couple of points. One, um, crypto assets are very difficult to value. So usually if we try to analyze stocks or bonds, one of the best way to analyze those is to try to look at future cash flows and discount them to present value to try to estimate what the current value of an asset is. For crypto assets, that exercise becomes very difficult because it is very difficult to understand what future cash flows for a token is. And therefore, we cannot use some of the metrics that we would use to estimate the value of a token. So for stocks, we could use PE ratios or PEG ratios to try to see if a token is overpriced or underpriced. But for tokens, it's not that easy to understand. So that is a first acknowledgement for crypto assets, and that is why it is so difficult to estimate what the value of a token is or an asset is, a crypto asset. But I'll try to do that in this case for the basic attention token, because for BAT, we have some cash flows that we can use, cash flow models that can use to estimate what the value, the future value or the current value of the basic attention token is. So in order to value the basic attention token, I use a price to Rev Share model. So you may ask, what is a price to Rev Share model and why does it matter, and why is that the right valuation model to use for BAT? To answer that question, you have to first understand what the business model of Brave is. So Brave is a platform, and it could be helpful to think about it as a platform such as Snapchat or Instagram or whatever app there is on your phone. So the way those platforms make money is that they have millions of users who use their products every single day, and those users are valuable to advertisers who want to show their products to millions and millions of users. Brave has millions of users, millions of daily active users, and therefore that platform is important and interesting to advertisers. Now, Brave does things a little differently than Instagram or Snapchat. Brave uses a revenue share model. This means that the revenue that Brave makes from advertisers is then shared with its users by giving the users the basic attention token. So whenever a Brave users sees an ad on the platform, they get rewarded in form of basic attention token. And that is why the name of the token is basic attention token. So in practice, a company X could come to Brave and say, hey, we want to advertise on your platform, and we're gonna give you X amount of money to advertise on your platform. Then Brave takes a percentage of that money, goes and buys the basic attention token, and that basic attention token is used to is distributed to its users. So every time users sees an ad, they will be rewarded in form of that basic attention token that that Brave has purchased. Now, why does this matter? It matters because Every time Brave goes and buys the basic attention token, it does so on the open market. That means that Brave is part of the demand of the basic attention token. So if the number of advertisers who advertise on Brave goes up, the amount of revenue share goes up, and therefore the demand for the basic attention token goes up. Now, the supply for the basic attention token is fixed. There are 1.5 billion basic attention token, and there will never be more than 1.5 billion basic attention token. Now, what happens when the demand for an asset goes up, but the supply is fixed? The price goes up. Now, that is why I use this model, because I think once Brave starts getting big enough, then it will be able to affect the price of the basic attention token. Right now, Brave purchases around 1.5 million dollars worth of basic attention token every month, and I believe that amount is going to go up substantially in the next couple of years, and that will drive the price of the basic attention token up. All right, now let's put aside the Brave Rev Share model for a second and actually take a look at the metrics from Brave. To do so, I usually visit a couple of websites. There is bravebat.info and basicattentiontoken.org/growth. Both websites provide a pretty decent amount of information about Brave and how much growth Brave is experiencing. And actually, both websites have similar information. I prefer to use bravebat.info because it has nicer graphs, more intuitive graphs, and we can use the information that is in those two websites to actually forecast some of the future growth that we expect Brave to have in the future. And actually, if we look at both websites, and this information is taken from basicattentiontoken.org/growth, we can see that so there are a couple of interesting information. The first thing is that in the last 2 years, Brave has grown its daily active users by 4x. So in Q3 of 2019, Brave had 2.8 million daily active users, and in Q3 of 2021, Brave had a 13.8 million daily active users. What is more interesting is how much growth the Rev Share has actually grown. And if we actually take a look at that, we can see that the Rev Share has grown from $50,000 to $3.5 million. Now, that's a 69x increase in the Rev Share. Now, that number was going from zero, so it is understandable that it is going to be bigger than the daily active users. However, if we actually take a look at the growth from last year to this year, we can still see that it is still a substantial growth, and it's still higher than a double in Rev Share growth. So I actually expect the growth to stay the same or actually increase in the next year, and there are a couple of reasons for that. The first is the user growth is going to keep expanding. Brave recently increased its marketing team, and I believe that Brave is getting into growth mode for its daily active users and monthly active users, and the growth of its users is going to impact the revenue that Brave is able to make. So the demand from advertisers comes from how many users they can reach through Brave. So if the number of users go up, the revenue, the rev share is going to go up. The second thing is that Brave is introducing interesting features, one of them being a Brave Rewards program for its DEX aggregator. And that is part of the new Brave wallet that has just been released. So once this new rewards program gets started, that is going to be a new feature that is going to create a new form of rev share model for the basic attention token, and that is going to be a completely new avenue, creating a new demand for the basic attention token. Finally, in the next year, I expect Brave to introduce a new search reward program. So if you didn't know, Brave has introduced Brave Search, which is going to be a competitor for Google Search. And currently, Brave does not advertise on its search product. I believe that within the next year, Brave is going to introduce a new advertisement on the Brave search, and that is going to be the third catalyst for the Rev Share model. Now, those three combined will definitely impact the rev share growth in the next couple of years, and that is why I'm expecting to see a 4x from 2021 to 2022 in rev share, and I expect another 4x in from 2022 to 2023. So what is my price prediction for the basic attention token? We need to look at a couple of metrics for that. So the first thing we look at is the current rev share run rate. So I had mentioned that the current rev share run rate is $14 million. And I mentioned that I expected this number to quadruple in the next year and quadruple again in 2023. So I expect the run rate in Q3 of 2022 to be $56 million, and that number to be $224 million in Q3 of 2023. Now, I have to apply a multiple to that number. I remember I mentioned that my price valuation is a price to rev share model, which means that I will need to apply a certain multiple for my valuation to make sense. Usually, companies apply a multiple to their earnings, but I believe that the rev share is a good proxy for that. So if we take a look at growth companies that grow 50%, 70% yearly, we usually know that those companies contend a price to earnings equal to their growth, meaning that if a company is growing 70% year over year, they will contend a price to earnings ratio of 70. In our case, Brave is growing its rev share, or I expect it to grow its rev share by 4x in the next year, and then 4x again in the following year. That would be a 300% growth year over year. However, I will not apply a 300 multiple because I believe a 300 multiple would be applicable if everything went perfectly for Brave, which I believe may not be the case in the future. So in order to be conservative, I applied a multiple of 100, which is 1/3 of the growth that Brave is experiencing. Now, if we apply a multiple of 100 to the 2022 Rev Share run rate, we would have a $5.6 billion. And if we applied it to the 2023 Q3 run rate, we will have a $22.4 billion. Now, those would be my expected market cap for the basic attention token in the future. However, those are market cap. So what does that, how do we get the price per BAT from those numbers? We have to divide those market cap by the max supply of basic attention token, which I mentioned was 1.5 billion. And for 2022, we get a basic attention token price of $3.73 per BAT and a price of $14.93 per BAT in 2023. Now, those numbers seem high, but I believe those numbers are actually very conservative. Again, I used a multiple that is 1/3 of the current growth of Brave, and I believe the growth that I'm expecting for next year is actually 4x, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was 5x or 6x given the new features and the new reward programs that Brave is going to be introducing. So 100 times Rev Share is actually pretty conservative. Now, in the future, I wouldn't be surprised if the price per BAT went north of $20 per BAT, $25 per BAT. I would not be surprised at all. And that would be in the next couple of years. But in order to be conservative, I used some conservative metrics to value where I believe BAT is going to be in the future. And those are the numbers that I'm sharing right now. As you can imagine, I'm very bullish on the basic attention token. I believe that is one of the most undervalued crypto asset in the cryptosphere, and I believe the next couple of years are going to be pretty incredible. I'm very excited to see what Brave is going to be bringing in the next few years. New features, new rewards programs, and I believe the basic attention token is just going to be ripping higher in the next couple of years. So there you go, guys. Those are my price predictions for the basic attention token for 2022 and 2023. And I'll see you next week.